Have you ever sat down to study and thought to yourself, "At least I'm putting in the hours, so I'm doing the right thing"? That belief, right there, is the exact reason why so many students fail. They fail not because they didn't study, but because they studied in the wrong way. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The way you're studying right now might already be setting you up for failure, and you don't even realize it. See, the brain is not a machine that rewards hours. It rewards efficiency. But schools, teachers, even so-called productivity gurus have brainwashed you into believing that sheer time equals success. Study longer, push harder, sacrifice sleep, grind until your eyes burn. That's the message. And you obey it, thinking it'll give you results. But deep down, you know the truth. You've pulled those long nights. You've highlighted every page. You've reread the same chapter 10 times. And yet, when the exam came, your brain betrayed you. The answers just wouldn't come. Why? Because science has already proven, again and again, that most students are studying in ways that actually weaken memory, destroy focus, and create a false sense of progress. That's the dangerous illusion. You feel productive, but you're building nothing. You're like someone trying to fill a leaking bucket. The harder you pour in water, the faster it drains. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever finished a long study session and felt proud, only to realize the next day that you remembered almost nothing? That's not because you're lazy or just not smart enough. It's because your brain was never designed to learn that way. Reading the same notes over and over, underlining sentences, staring at a textbook for hours. These are rituals that look like studying, but scientifically, they do almost nothing. In fact, studies show that these methods create an illusion of mastery. You think you know the material just because it looks familiar, but the second you're tested, your mind goes blank. And here's the trap. You repeat the same mistake. You tell yourself, "I just need to study longer. Next time, I'll push harder. I'll give more hours." But hours don't matter if the system itself is broken. Imagine trying to dig through concrete with a spoon. The problem isn't your effort, it's your method. But schools never tell you this. They want obedient students who grind endlessly, not efficient learners who challenge the system. So here's the reality. If you continue studying the way you are right now, mindlessly highlighting, rereading, cramming the night before, you're not just wasting time, you're guaranteeing failure. Because the truth is, memory doesn't form from comfort. Focus doesn't sharpen from repetition. True learning requires struggle, friction, and a system that aligns with how the brain actually works. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. It should. Because unless you're willing to break free from these fake study habits, you'll keep falling into the same cycle. Hours wasted, confidence shattered, results destroyed. But if you're still here, listening to this message, it means one thing. You already know something is wrong. You've felt it. You've experienced the pain of doing everything right, yet still falling short. And that's why this message is so dangerous to the old version of you. Because once you understand how real learning works, you can't unsee it. Once you learn what the science actually says about studying, you'll realize how much time you've been throwing away. This video isn't here to comfort you. It's here to expose the lies you've been fed. And once you hear what I'm about to tell you, you'll never be able to look at studying the same way again. 1. The lie of rereading and highlighting. One of the most popular study methods students use is rereading textbooks and notes with a bright highlighter in hand. It feels like you're working. The words glow, the pages fill up with yellow, and you convince yourself, "I'm making progress." But here's the scientific reality. Rereading does almost nothing for long-term memory. Studies from universities like Purdue and Washington have shown that rereading creates familiarity, not mastery. You recognize the words, but you can't recall them when it actually matters. Think about it. How many times have you reread something and thought, "Yes, I know this," But then, the second you're asked a question, your brain freezes. That's because rereading tricks you into thinking you understand. Highlighting does the same thing. It makes the page look active, but your brain is passive. And here's the manipulative trick your brain plays on you. The more colorful the notes, the more you believe you're learning. But in reality, you're just decorating failure. 2. The cramming illusion. Now let's talk about cramming. Almost every student does it, waiting until the night before, then pouring in 6, 8, 10 hours straight. You feel like a warrior, like you're finally locking in, but neuroscience destroys that illusion. Sleep is when memory consolidates. It's when your brain takes new information and transfers it into long-term storage. When you rob yourself of sleep to cram, you're literally blocking the very process that makes studying work. Here's the shocking part. Research shows that a student who studies for 2 hours and then sleeps will perform better than a student who crams all night with 6 hours of studying but no rest. Why? Because cramming fills your short-term memory like a balloon, but the balloon pops the moment the test begins. And what are you left with? Nothing. Exhaustion, blank pages, panic. The system has conditioned you to believe that hard work means staying up late. But in reality, cramming is not studying. It's self-sabotage dressed as effort. 3. The passive note-taking trap. Another killer mistake is copying notes word for word, believing that the act of writing equals learning. It doesn't. Your brain is not a photocopier. It doesn't remember things just because you rewrote them. Passive note-taking is dangerous because it makes you feel engaged, but it leaves you with shallow understanding. What science shows is that the brain remembers through retrieval, the act of pulling information out, not just putting it in. When you're just copying, you're putting data in like a hard drive. But unlike a hard drive, the human brain only strengthens memories when it struggles to recall them. That means if you're not actively testing yourself, closing the book, asking questions, forcing recall, you're not learning. You're just stacking empty words in a notebook you'll never fully remember. 4. The long study hour. Myth, and perhaps the most dangerous belief of all. The idea that the longer you study, the more you learn. That's the lie that keeps you chained to your desk for 10-hour marathons. But your brain doesn't work that way. After a certain point, your focus collapses, your memory formation plummets, and your brain stops listening. You can sit there for hours, but the data isn't going in. The truth, short, intense bursts of focused study are far more powerful than endless hours of grinding. But here's why students ignore this. They equate exhaustion with success. They think being tired means they worked hard. But being tired isn't the same as being prepared. If effort alone was enough, every exhausted student would ace their exams. But they don't. Why? Because they confused activity with results. 5. The comfort zone problem. Finally, let's expose the biggest psychological trap. Studying only what feels comfortable. You've done this before. You review the chapters you already know. You practice the questions you're already good at, because it feels safe. But comfort is the enemy of learning. The brain only grows when it struggles. Real memory is built when your brain says, "Wait, this is hard." But most students avoid that discomfort, so they never grow. And here's the devastating truth. By only studying what feels easy, you're guaranteeing weakness in the exact areas that will destroy you in the exam. You're rehearsing confidence, not competence. And when the test throws something you avoided, you collapse. So now you know the truth. If you're still studying the way most students do, rereading, highlighting, cramming, and pretending that long hours equal success, you're basically preparing yourself to fail, and science has already proven it. And here's the funny part. I guarantee, right now, someone watching this is angry. They're thinking, but highlighting works for me. Cramming got me through last semester. Sure, maybe it worked once, but so does luck at a casino. Try building your entire future on luck and see how long it lasts. The real question is, Are you brave enough to admit you've been wasting time? Or are you going to defend the very methods that keep you trapped? Tell me in the comments, which one of these mistakes have you been guilty of the most? Be honest, because I already know you've done at least one. Everyone has. And if you're bold enough, drop your answer below. I'm curious to see how many of you are still holding on to habits that science has already killed.